And we're live. Welcome everyone to another week of the community team Q&A at Ubuntu. I'm David Planella from the Ubuntu community team at Canonical, and today I'm joined by a member of the Canonical community team as well, Michael Hall.
Hello everyone.
As usual, if you've got any questions, you can simply prevent them with the word question on IRC. If you're on ubuntuonair.com, you'll find an easy way to join the IRC channel, and then we'll pick the questions as we go along. Generally, we don't answer questions that are related to technical support. For this, we direct people generally to ask Ubuntu, the forums, or places where they can offer, where other community folks can offer better support. Other than that, I think that's all for the logistics. This week we've got some news and some updates, and I think we're all ready to start. I think perhaps one thing to mention before we start today on the section of news and updates is that the Ubuntu project got accepted in the Google Code-in program. So this is something that we're particularly excited about. Google Code-in is a program in which organizations or projects can enter, and it's about creating sets of tasks for new contributors to help the projects. In the case of Ubuntu, we'll have Jose Rey from the community. We'll have Alan Pope and Nicholas Cax coordinating the program, and they are looking for mentors as well who want to help. The work of a mentor essentially is to prepare tasks and making sure that they can help new contributors to complete these tasks. When we're talking about tasks, essentially, we're talking not of big projects. We're talking about small tasks that can help Ubuntu. This means that Alan, Nick, Jose, and other members will be looking at other teams. They will be contacting them and asking everyone to put together a list of areas in which each one of the teams could need some help.
And Popey has provided a link for that.
Okay. Oh yeah, sorry, I wasn't looking at IRC. There you go. Thanks, Popey. All right. Mike, is there anything else that we want to announce during the intro, or shall we start answering
Yes,
some?
let's talk about UbuCons, because we've got an UbuCon happening this week in Florida on Thursday in Orlando. So anybody in Florida that can make it to that, we're going to have some good sessions there. And we're also going to be there Friday and Saturday afterwards as part of FaucetCon. So it's a big open source convention here in sunny Florida. I strongly encourage anyone who can get there to come and join us and have some fun, talk about Ubuntu. And then in January, we have an even bigger UbuCon event happening out in California. This is our big UbuCon Summit. We're using the Southern California Linux Expo scale, has provided us with a couple of rooms at their venue, and we are bringing in a bunch of people from Canonical, a bunch of people from the community, to bring back some of the spirit of the Ubuntu Developer Summit that we used to do twice a year. So we're going to have a lot of people out there. If you can make it to one show next year, that would be a good one to go to. And we're going to be announcing some more stuff on that over the next couple months, because we're going to start getting sponsors for it and start hopefully taking in requests for community people to get sponsored to attend also.
Excellent. Yeah. If you want to know more about this as well, I'd recommend you to go to summit.ubuntu.com and find the sessions about the UbuCon Summit at the past Ubuntu Online Summit.
Yeah, you'll have to go back and find the past one. Let me get the actual link to that.
Cool. All right then. So I think we can start with with the questions. I think there were a couple of questions before we started. No, it was a support question. Okay, so the best is asking, what is the Ubuntu Community Council, or better, how is Ubuntu structured? Which place does Canonical has in Ubuntu and which the community? How do those work together? I think we can both chip into this answer, but Mike, perhaps I'll let you start as you're a member of the Community Council yourself.
Sure. So when Mark set up the Ubuntu project way back in time when dinosaurs roamed the earth and everything was flat, he wanted it to be a balance between company and community. He didn't want to have this wall of separation that kept one side on one side and the other on the other. So one of the things he did was he set up two primary councils: the technical board, which makes all the big technical decisions about Ubuntu, and the community council, which makes all of the big community decisions about Ubuntu. And these are both staffed by people who are voted on by people in the Ubuntu project. So technical board is voted in by any Ubuntu developers, and the community council is voted in by any Ubuntu members. So they can be people from Canonical, they can be people who are in the community. It all depends on what the larger community votes for. So the community council's primary role is overseeing things in the community. It's delegated a lot of these things over the years. It used to be the board that approved all Ubuntu members. When Ubuntu got too big for them to do all of that, they started the membership boards who were delegated that responsibility. They would approve loco teams until we had too many loco teams for that one group to manage, so they created the local council. So we've got this governance structure that all kind of stems from the community council that manages different aspects of the community. Whenever there's a conflict anywhere in the community and one of those sub-councils or teams can't resolve that conflict, then that gets escalated up and up until it finally reaches the community council. So we're kind of the root of dispute arbitration and also the root of community authority over the project. So I think that answers the first part of the question about what the community council is and how Ubuntu is structured. The second part is what place does Canonical have in Ubuntu and with the community? So Canonical is kind of a special case community member. We don't necessarily have special authority that other people in the community don't, but by virtue of being the primary sponsor of the Ubuntu project, we have various responsibilities and access over it. So Canonical owns the Ubuntu trademarks, and we enforce those for the good of the project, but they are still owned by Canonical. And of course, we're the primary developers of things like Launchpad and Unity that are really important to Ubuntu overall. But we're also just another part of the community, and when we want to do something, we have to not justify it, but we have to explain it. We have to get people to back us in it. Like I said, the community council and the technical board are staffed by people from the community. It's not something that Canonical just comes in and says, okay, this is what we're doing, whether anybody likes it or not. When we try and do that, that usually ends up in trouble for us, and we learn our lesson from that.
Yeah, and to that I would only add a couple of things. Actually, I think Mike has done a really good summary. If you want to learn more about the structure of the Ubuntu community, you can head up to community.ubuntu.com. I think if you scroll to the bottom, you'll find all of the information that you need. Also, one thing to stress again is that yes, Canonical is part of Canonical as a company is part of the wider Ubuntu community as well, and also one of the things that helps us working with the community and grow this relationship with the community is transparent in the decisions and transparent in communication and on the updates on the project. This is also one of the reasons why we've got the summit events where we talk about what's going on in the project and so on. Also, we talk about regularly about where we are in terms of features, where we are in terms of devices that we're enabling, and so on. Obviously, there are some communications which will always be private, such as I'm mentioning devices right now, so communications with device manufacturers and so on. But for us, it's very important to strike a good balance between yes, being open and then being able to work with commercial manufacturers. And to that also helps us as well the culture of working at Canonical as well, where we ask all of our engineers to be on IRC, be on the mailing list. We encourage everyone to discuss publicly when it comes to essentially developing something for Ubuntu.
And before we move on from the discussion of councils, I just wanted to give a couple of reminders. The Community Council is currently going under re-elections. So everybody who's an Ubuntu member should have received an email with a link to where they can vote for the new Community Council. There are 7 elected seats, and only 3 of us are seeking re-election. So there's going to be at least 4 new people, possibly more, on the council. But if you haven't received that email and you are an Ubuntu member, give me a ping and I will find out why you didn't get that and get it to you. And then on the second thing is that the Loco Council is also up for re-election soon, and they are currently seeking nominees for the Loco Council. So anybody who's interested in Loco teams and building Loco teams and helping out, if you haven't nominated yourself or been nominated by somebody now, I think that window's closing soon, so get your name in there quickly. And that's it.
All right, so next question is from the best again. I have a BQE 4.5 Ubuntu smartphone. Will I also get all those convergence features, although this smartphone will most probably never be able to connect to a bigger screen, etc.? I mean, in terms of the convergence features, you have to remember that these are software features, but obviously they are coupled with like the phone, the hardware being able to cope with those. In terms of the support for convergence that we are adding right now via HDMI, we're working with the Nexus 4, so you won't be able to do it with the E4.5 because it doesn't have a HDMI output. However, the software itself does support, that's running on your E4.5, does support convergence.
There were some interesting discussions of this in the past UOS. So if you go back to the link I posted earlier for the UbuCon Summit organization, if you search the schedule for UOS 1511, there were a couple of other sessions about this and discussions of things that we're looking into to try and enable convergence on hardware that doesn't support video out via the USB connector. So there are some wireless technologies that are being investigated that might make that possible on all of our devices sometime in the future.
All right. Next, we've got a question from Rich Wing. Could we ever get these Bluetooth beanies into the story if Canonical work with the manufacturer? And is adding a link to a product. Well, I don't really have an insight on where we're getting our items from the store, so I cannot really tell you, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Are these like headphones? I'm trying to figure out what the actual Bluetooth stuff does.
I don't know.
I mean, it talks a lot about how it's a Bluetooth device, but it doesn't actually say if it's speakers or something else. Ah, there we go. Okay, it is speakers.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have a process for suggesting new items to the store. I mean, perhaps this is something that we can bring up internally at Canonical, but it's not generally something where we've got a workflow or an open process for suggesting new items.
It seems you can buy it already. I mean, there's a link to it. So I'm not sure what the benefit of having it in the store would be, other than, you know,
I think it would be about branding it, like with
Canonical getting a cut of it.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Next question is quite a broad one. Where do you think Ubuntu is headed? Oh, wow. Well, you should, if you've been following the Ubuntu channels, you probably have a good view on where we're going actually right now. We're going towards convergence on devices. We're going, Ubuntu is really, really popular on cloud and will continue to be. And also, we're starting to grow much more in the world of the Internet of Things and embedded devices. This one particular area in which Canonical is investing quite a lot of effort, quite a lot of time. And I think this is one of the areas that you'll see, well, not that I think, I'm convinced this is one of the areas where you'll see more and more Ubuntu grow. You've probably heard about Snappy, and one of the big changes that is coming right now is this new way of packaging applications and being able to deliver them to devices. So I'd say perhaps to stay tuned on these three topics: cloud, convergence, including devices, as in phone, tablets, and PC, and then Snappy. And on the side that doesn't have to do with the tech itself, on community, you've probably started to hear more and more about UbuCons and summits. This is something that we've been working together with some community teams. And when I say we, I mean the Canonical community team. And we're really excited to see more and more UbuCons growing all over the world. We're particularly excited as well about the UbuCon Summit happening in Pasadena. It's going to be like the next big UbuCon, essentially taking the UbuCons to the next level. And there are talks to organize an UbuCon in Europe next year as well, meaning, sorry, I meant an UbuCon Summit in Europe next year. So we're really happy to see this expanding, and I'm convinced as well that we'll see more and more on this as well. What's your take on where Ubuntu is going, Mike? Any additional thoughts? Oh, I think we've lost Mike. All right, then. So if you've got any more questions, as usual, feel free to prepare them with the word question, and then we'll go through them as they come. In terms of other updates, well, we're waiting for more questions to come. There are a couple of things that perhaps might be worth highlighting on what the community team and some others have been working in the last couple of weeks. If you follow the Ubuntu community team mailing list, that's ubuntu-community-team at lists.ubuntu.com, you'll probably have heard this, but in essence, we're sending a weekly, or rather now bi-weekly update every week or every 2 weeks. So let me just go through some of the things that we've been working on lately. In terms of the community, we've been quite focused on organizing the Ubuntu Online Summit. Sorry, the UbuCon, too many events. We've been quite focused on organizing the UbuCon Summit together with some members of the Ubuntu California local team. We're putting together a set of sponsorship packages for sponsors to help us contribute to the event financially as well. Also, Mike was mentioning that we've been working on, rather some team members have been working on the community council election, and also quite interesting if you're part of a local team or if you're considering joining a local team as well. During US and previously, we were discussing an offering for local teams to use meetup.com as part of a global Ubuntu network. This is something that got approved by the local council, and this is something that we started as a pilot right now. So you can go to meetup.com/pro/Ubuntu and see the first local teams which have started being part of the pilot. If you are interested in, as a local team, in joining the pilot and using the Ubuntu network at meetup.com, feel free to contact us on the Ubuntu-community-team at list.ubuntu.com mailing list, or contact the local council at local-council@list.ubuntu.com as well, and we'll help you getting your local team set up in meetup.com. Also, we've been doing quite a lot of work on the developer side, particularly on the Snappy side of things lately. We're working on an importer to get the Markdown documents imported automatically on the website, and we have also been working sorry, I'm just trying to find the right word. We've got a Trello board essentially where you can check, where you can see all we've been working on regarding Ubuntu docs. What we've been doing essentially has been revamping the part of the site where we talk about devices. We noticed that quite a lot of the traffic was going was coming from Raspberry Pi 2 channels, and people were going to the Raspberry Pi site. Sorry, we're going to the Raspberry Pi page in developer.ubuntu.com. So we've been trying to optimize and make sure that we've got the information architecture well set up, and we've extended the Raspberry Pi pages and made sure that they are more clear. Essentially, if you go to developer.ubuntu.com/snappy right now, you will see a much more clearer path to get to what you're trying to do essentially. We're still working on this. This is ongoing work. There's something in particular that Daniel Holbach and David Kalle from the community team have been working on. And if you're interested in knowing what's going on, you can follow this Trello board, which I'm just going to paste now on IRC. All right. Okay.
And I will throw out that the developer portal is an open source project, and if there's anybody who's good with Python, HTML, CSS, or Django, we would love to have you join us and help make it better.
Excellent. Yeah, that's launchpad.net/developer-ubuntu-com. So there you can see the code, you can see the open bugs, and how you can contribute. All right then, Mike, I see if you've at the petition of the audience, you've switched off your fan. So I guess we're all.
No, the fan is still on. It's the light that's off.
Yeah, I can see it now. All right, so
I need a brighter desk lamp here to light me up a little bit better.
All right. Okay, so shall we take a look at some of the questions that have been coming up? Dragonbite is asking, is there any focus on Ubuntu on the desktop that's not related to the Ubuntu phone convergence? Well,
yes, there's. We're going into the traditional desktop and Unity 7. Even though Unity 7 is in maintenance mode, there's still fixes and improvements being made to that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to remember as well is that as part of 16.04, while we're focused on convergence, we still have to bring the traditional desktop and Unity 7. So definitely there's work going on the traditional desktop.
And a lot of the convergence stuff, is going to benefit the traditional Ubuntu desktop also. One of the plans that they have for this next development cycle is to allow snappy apps to be installed on the desktop, which should open up a lot more opportunity to independent app developers to deliver apps to Ubuntu without going through the current review queue, which is not working very well. So there's a lot of little things that, even though they're coming from the phone work, are going to start benefiting the Ubuntu desktop before we reach that full convergence point.
All right. Next question is from Richwing. Can I use the logo programming language as a case study app in the AppTouch development for mobile? I'm not familiar with Logo, but I would say if it is something that you can package in your Click app, definitely. I mean, there's not. We've limited the number of supported languages to essentially what the Qt project and our HTML5 story can support. But if this is something that you want to try and you want to package with all the dependencies in your app, then I'd say it might be something worth testing.
Yeah, I think, isn't Logo the one where you move the turtle around?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm really not familiar with it. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't either. I know people have packaged up Python and Java with their apps so they could write the app in those languages. So if you can write an app in Logo and you can access like QML with Logo in order to actually draw your app, then you should be able to.
Yeah, it is the turtle language.
Okay. If the question is, can you create an app that lets you program the Logo turtle from Ubuntu Touch, then that probably is going to be a lot easier to do than writing an app in Logo itself. There's an app currently in the store called Terrarium that lets you live code QML, and it shows you the results of your QML as you type it. So if you want to do a Logo app for Ubuntu Touch, that might be something to look at how to do that with. Also, Terrarium's just a really cool app for showing off how easy QML is.
All right, next question is from Chloe Wolfigel. With Mir and Unity 8, is Canonical and Valve still working together a lot so games are optimized well for Mir? And let me take a breath. And I'll work on the platform, or will there be issues with SteamOS using Wayland and not having contained apps?
So I think SteamOS currently still uses X11, and I'm not sure what their future plans are for that. I do know that the Mir development team has been talking regularly to Valve as well as to the GPU manufacturers to make sure that things are going to work the way users expect them to work. I don't have any more detail than that, though.
All right. Next question is from Patin. Have you guys updated to Telegram 2.0? Yes, I have. I tried the previous version.
I have, yes.
And it's working really, really well. It feels much more responsive than the previous version. And yeah, it's my favorite app. And I've said it many times. It's my favorite app on the phone.
And it shows stickers now, which is a nice big improvement that we got over the previous version.
All right. So, well, there's a suggestion rather than a question whether we could type the URLs on IRC that we were mentioning. I think we've been good at doing that.
Yeah, after I saw that, I've gone and added some more. So if we missed any, just let us know and we'll give you the URL for it.
All right. Another question from Chloe Wolfigel related to SteamOS and Mir. Using Steam with the Steam controller, you had to edit some config to make it work as a controller. Is that something you can do with Unity 8 on the desktop? Or will it be more like the phone where you can't edit them? If not, what's the plan for hardware such as the Steam controller? Valve added the config to make the Steam controller work, but I had to manually edit it so it worked as a controller.
So I'm not very familiar with the Steam controller. I don't have one. I don't play Steam games very much. I do know that there's been some recent work to make this work a little bit better out of the box.
Yeah.
The plan, I assume, would be that the underlying input framework would detect it properly and set it up properly. I think the fact that you have to edit configs right now is a bug that needs to be fixed so that you don't have to do that in the future.
Yeah, I thought the bug had been fixed in 15.10, so you might want to check that. In terms of the phone, I cannot really tell you much, but I mean, the idea, as Mike was saying, is that it should work out of the box. All right, another question from Patin. The deval channel has 1604 as based. When instable or RC proposed? I'm not quite sure I understand the question, to be honest.
I think he's asking when the phone images are going to rebase on 1604. They're currently based on 1504 plus a PPA that adds more up-to-date packages on top of that. I don't know what the time frame is for that. I do know that it is planned. It was discussed at the last UOS.
Okay, so,
if you join #Ubuntu-touch, you can ask in there, and they might have a better idea of timeline.
Exactly, yeah, and or you can come back to the URL we posted earlier on, essentially summit.ubuntu.com, and see if you can find the session on. It was probably, I guess, Mike, it was probably at the Q&A, or might have been at another session that it was discussed.
Yeah, I think it was the Q&A that we had with Kevin Gunn on there, and I think Pat McGowan.
All right. Chloe Wolfigel is asking, what are some fun features and bug fixes that you're excited to see that are coming within the next months or weeks? Oh, this is a very broad question as well. I think I'll have to answer it broadly as well. I think for me personally, it's anything that has to do with convergence. I mean, the first time I plugged a phone to my monitor, it was just an eye-opener. It was, for me, that was a milestone in Ubuntu. I mean, at the time, it wasn't really stable enough to take some pictures and get some other people excited as well. But one thing that I'm particularly excited about is getting the convergence story to something that can be well, that is user-ready, essentially. So that's one thing that I'm particularly excited about. I'm also excited about Snappy. I haven't played as much with Snappy as I've wanted to. I've got a Raspberry Pi 2, but I tried it in the very early days. So I'm looking forward to be able to use Snapcraft to package applications and be able to create applications for Snappy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Snappy on the desktop. I think once that lands, I'm going to upgrade to 1604, regardless of what state it's in, just so I can start playing with it. I think that's going to be a big game changer for us on the desktop. As far as convergence goes, I'm looking forward to changes to Unity 8 for the desktop. I've heard that there's some design work going on right now to improve scopes and the dash in general on the desktop. So I'm looking forward to seeing what those come out with and how that's going to improve the desktop experience for Unity 8. And Mycroft, I'm excited to see what Mycroft is going to do. They keep teasing these things about the work they're doing for their Ubuntu phone app integration. So I'm excited to see what they come up with.
All right. Rash is asking, when will the stable OTA for Ubuntu Touch will be? Let me just rephrase this. When will a stable OTA for Ubuntu Touch be introduced? We're releasing OTAs all of the time. I I think it's more or less every 6 weeks, but in any case, you can check this URL on launchpad.net/canonical-devices-system-image/plus and there you can see the actual schedule and timeline for all OTAs.
I believe the next OTA is scheduled for this week. So I think OTA 8 is supposed to go out this week.
It probably is. I see that the milestone for that one is not yet updated with the new date, so it might well be. Other than that, after OTA 8, we'll have OTA 9 coming up in January, so that's the next one to look forward to. Also, if you click on each one of the milestone links in there, you'll see all of the bugs and features that have been targeted for that particular OTA.
All right. Mauke asks, is there any way to get the HTML5 inspector from the Batu SDK working on anything higher than 1404 LTS? If you're talking about for inspecting HTML5 apps, you would have to ask. I think Adnan was the one that was working on that. If you go into #Ubuntu-web apps and look for Daker or Alex Abreu, one of them can hopefully answer that question because I'm not real sure.
Yeah, although I thought that the inspector was working already when you're trying to debug HTML5 apps, like in higher versions than 1404. But yeah.
It should be. If it's not, it's a bug.
Chloe Wolfigel is asking, do you have any insider knowledge of new apps and scope? And if so, could you give us a few hints? Nice try. One thing that I'll mention, though, is something that I find really cool, and that's the support for JavaScript in scopes. We're preparing something really cool that we'll be announcing soon. I think it might actually be mentioned on US already, so it might not be that much of a reveal. But in any case, I expect cool things to happen from the side of Ubuntu scopes using JavaScript.
Right. So there's a lot of cool new apps and scopes and frameworks and stuff being worked on. It's just not insider knowledge. Some of the specific ones I'll throw out is LibreOffice support in the document viewer, so you can open Office documents, even Microsoft Office documents in our document viewer is being worked on. The file manager that was built for the phone is gaining Samba protocol support, so you can connect it to Windows Share and copy files. But again, all of that's public knowledge. If you're watching the mailing list or the IRC, you would have known that's coming. All right, Ridgewing says, just for reference, what did you have for breakfast this morning? I had a bowl of Cheerios. That was and a pot of coffee.
I do drink coffee, so I just had some toast and orange juice. I'm wondering what kind of reference that is, but if that helps.
Dragonbite asks, when Google announced Google Drive, they promised a version for Linux is coming. That was more than 5 years ago, and only a half-baked solution was grudgingly thrown out to try to appease people. Is there any communication or cooperation with Google and Ubuntu for their apps? There isn't that I'm aware of. We do have a lot of conversations with Google on a lot of things. And in fact, we use a lot of Google's apps like Drive internally in Canonical. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was some discussions, but again, not anything that I'm aware of.
All right. Chloe Wolfigel is asking, she's on a roll, by the way, today. She's asking really good questions, so thanks a lot. With Xmir and older apps working on Unity with Mir, what's the plan with trying to keep everything looking modern and plans with icons and generally making the apps fit in? I think this is something that we'll have. I mean, from my side at least, I might have something else to add. There's something to forward as a question to the design team. I mean, you can see some preview already if you use the phone, the Pocket Desktop channel for the phone, or rather for the convergence story, on how XApps will look like.
Well, currently they look pretty terrible because we don't have a proper GTK theme being sent to them. I would imagine the plan is that we will have a GTK theme that matches as close as possible the Qt theme that we've developed. And then they should all share the same icons.
Yeah, I mean, essentially they should look polished and they should look integrated when once we can see them stable. All right, she's asking again.
Chloe and I keep going on and on about the HUD because we both want to see it back so much. She asked if there's any updates on it. There is not. I asked the design. We had someone from the design team on at UOS, and that was one of the questions I asked. And unfortunately, he didn't know. He hadn't been working on HUD designs. And the last time I asked John Lee, who's our, I think, head of design, he said that it was still on the plans to do, but I don't think it's been started yet. But keep asking that question, please. Don't let them forget that they need to do this.
All right. Next one. Next question is from Tatin. What Android apps or games do you guys want to see on Ubuntu phone? I think this is one of our recurring questions. I remember having answered this one at the online summit, so I'm hoping I'm giving a similar answer. I mean, to be honest, I personally am quite happy with the offer that the phone has right now. My main requirement was to have an instant messaging app, and that got satisfied with having Telegram on the phone. I'd like to have better navigation support in general, or a more integrated navigation app. Although we're starting to see more and more on this. You should definitely check out UNAV on the store. And again, I'd really like to see WhatsApp on the phone, but just for egotistic reasons, because many of my friends, which I haven't converted to Telegram, still use it.
So what I would like to see isn't so much a new app, but I would like to see companies like Facebook and Google take over ownership of the web apps that we have for them in the store. They all want us to use their mobile web version, which, fine, it's their brand. They can decide how people access it. But they could still use things like push notifications, which would make those apps so much more useful to me. Without actually having to build a native client, they just have to do a little bit of script that their servers will then send a message to saying, hey, you've got a new message. So that's what I would like to see. And then, of course, I'd like to see WhatsApp, because a lot of people want WhatsApp. And I think we would be able to support a larger cross-section of users if we have that. But again, that's going to require these companies to actually pay us enough attention to do that. And I think that's just going to take time.
Charles is asking how to get a free Ubuntu phone. Well, I'd say you should support BQ and Ubuntu and get one from the BQ store, or Meizu as well. Other than that, actually, you should check out the Ubuntu social media channels, as we run contests regularly, and often some of the prizes are Ubuntu phones. So this might be one of the options. Also, if you're interested in contributing to Ubuntu, some of the core app developers who have been supporting us from the start of the project and who have been creating the applications that are shipped by default on the phone. Essentially, got a phone, not only as a reward for the work that they had been doing, but as a way for them to be able to keep contributing to Ubuntu. This is not something that it's been given to them for free as it is, but rather, as I say, as a means to support their work, and as a means for us to say thanks for this continued support. And this is not something that came just for free; it came from the community donations fund.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that when we do give out stuff from the community donations fund, that it's not, a payment for something that's already been done. It's an investment in work that's going to be done in the future. And so far, I think everybody that we've given something to has, given a return on that investment that's made it all worthwhile. Chloe Wolfie Girl asks, what are your current plans on getting app developers on board with Ubuntu for phones? The primary plan is just to make it as easy as possible for them to write apps for Ubuntu. So we've got QML, which is an incredibly easy to learn and use language that's still fast and powerful and featureful. And then we also fully support HTML5 as a native toolkit for people who want to leverage existing code bases that they've written. If they've used Cordova to make a cross-platform app, they can port that to Ubuntu very easily. Cordova supports Ubuntu as a native target for their framework. So that's the primary way that we're going about it, is just making it as easy as possible to get them to do that port.
Yeah, and to that I would add the fact that I'm going to mention the word convergence again, and that's another attractive feature for developers as well, who can develop applications on their phone and essentially get them for free in the desktop. So as we're ramping up with the convergence story, then this is another offering that should make the platform more attractive for developers as well.
Brayden is asking, would we be able to replace Unity with Lxde on the phone version as well? Not easily, because it would have to run on that hardware, which means for Lxde you have to run X11, which requires that you have X11 drivers for that hardware, which is going to be hard to find. The other option is to go with what KDE has done. So they've created Plasma Mobile, which runs on Wayland on top of the Ubuntu phone base. If Lxde wanted to go that route, they can, either using Mir or using Wayland. But it's not going to be quite as simple as just installing the Lxde packages on a phone and starting it up.
Okay, next question comes from Jargos. Is there an IRC client for Ubuntu phone? Yes, there is. I think it's a web app actually, and I think, is it QE IRC? I don't use it on my phone, to be honest, so I don't really know. Mike, you might probably know.
No, I don't know actually, because I use the terminal app to SSH into my IRC server and run IRSSI that way.
I think if you just search for IRC on the store, you'll find it quite quickly. I think it's a web app which was actually uploaded by one of the phone and now Snappy developers, Ogra. Chloe Wolfie is asking, do you expect the current phone apps to get enough features and good enough to replace the current default on the desktop in the new feature? Will the file manager be able to beat Nautilus in features, etc.? I think this will be a discussion to be had. I think I would say perhaps not in the near future. Taking the example as the file manager with the file manager. Nautilus is a file manager that's been developed for years. The file manager is still quite young and is quite phone-based yet. However, things like the music app or other applications might be an option, as a viable option as the default client once the conversion story kicks in.
Yeah, I would say it's not impossible that it would gain more features. Nautilus is, known for doing what a file manager should do and nothing more. So it's possible. I don't know if that's a goal at the moment, though. All right. Now Kay is asking, is there an application compatible with Google Music for Ubuntu Touch? I don't know. I don't use Google Music, so you'd have to search the store and see. I know there was some discussion about adding online services support to the music app, but I don't think Google Music target.
No, I think the discussion on essentially streaming for the music app is not something that will happen in the near future yet. Although it's been discussed in previous UDSs and during the weekly summit, weekly calls. All right, we've got about 7 minutes left. We've got still quite a bunch of questions, so we might just go quickly through them. Chloe Wolf is asking, what current Android phones would you like to see Ubuntu on? Is there any niche you'd like to see phone-wise?
I would like to see it on a phone being sold in the US. That's that's the one thing that I want to see. Other than that, I mean, they're all just little rectangles with screens.
Yeah, I won't name any particular manufacturer. I'd just say that I'm very excited to get phone running, or to get more phones running in China as well. And I should probably say the US as well. Not Mike is on the call.
I appreciate that. But yeah, China's a big thing. Getting a phone on sale in China is important to us. Right. Chloe is asking again, what niche do you think Ubuntu for phones currently doesn't scratch?
I'm not really sure I quite understand the question. So if you could perhaps give us some more context on this, that will help us.
All right, Dragon Bite asked, do you feel the community is more vibrant, less, or about the same as it was 5 to 10 years ago? Has there been a change? Maybe when Unity first came out, is it growing with the excitement of Ubuntu Phone, or has it been fairly stable all the way through? So our community has certainly changed over the last, I'll say 5 years. It's shifted from being about distro building to building on top of a distro. And it took us a little while to adapt to that. But I think we've found the new path that we need to be on to support where the community wants to go and what they want to do with Ubuntu. So the past year or so, we've seen most of our community metrics starting to steadily rise again.
Yeah, and I would perhaps add as well that yes, the community has changed, but change is not necessarily bad thing. I mean, on the contrary, one of the things that we've been seeing as well is another type of contributors as well. With the focus on the phone in the last couple of years in particular, we've seen more community, or a new community growing, which doesn't necessarily contribute to the platform, although they might do it nevertheless. They are able then to use Ubuntu as a platform to create their applications on top. So this is the example with Core Apps, and now is also the model that we're going with Snappy, essentially enabling app developers to create this new ecosystem to bring applications to the store and have a more vibrant Ubuntu for them and for the rest of the users.
Right. I think we're seeing a shift from people being downstream users who then get involved in Ubuntu and then get involved in upstream projects, that we've got a lot more people now who are starting new upstream projects and then using that as a gateway to getting into building Ubuntu to be what they need it to be as an upstream.
Mark is asking, is it possible to connect the BQ or Meizu phones to a screen like the Nexus 4 and the Nexus 7 to try desktop mode? I don't have a Meizu MX4 right now, so I cannot really tell you off the top of my head. We've answered this question
you
before.
Can't.
But yeah, so then from what Mike was saying,
so if you can go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, exactly. So no BQ, no Meizus. This is not because of the software. This is rather the support on the hardware support on the phone.
Chloe's asking, how does Ubuntu phone plan to get faster and more fluid? Sometimes it feels a bit slow and sluggish, especially if a scope is refreshing. So the scopes, and especially the thumbnailer used to generate thumbnails for the scopes, are going through some big optimizations right now. They probably won't be in OTA 8, but maybe in OTA 9, or if you're on the daily images, you'll get those sooner than people on stable. But there is work on improving that. There's work always going on in upstream Qt to improve performance of the underlying toolkit. And we're also always working on improving the pieces on our end that load the apps to reduce the amount of time that takes.
All right. Global Figure is asking, sorry, I've lost where the question was.
He says, what scopes do you have on your home screen, left to right, and why? So I've got apps as my default home screen. Next to that, I've got my photos, which is only the local pictures I've taken because I don't use like Flickr or Picasa or whichever remote ones we support. Then I've got videos, nearby, and today. I think nearby would be higher up if I left the house more often, but working from home, cursed with being in the same place all the time.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you off the top of my head, I don't have my phone on the table right now. So I've got today. I don't have nearby activated, but when I go out, especially if I go out to a new city, I activate it as I don't use it at home either. Then I've got Telegram, I've got messages, and I've got music, and I think I've got videos activated, but I'm not sure if I have it. So that's my list. All right, so I think we can perhaps pick another one last question, and then we can wrap it up as we're nearing the top of the hour. Okay, I'm just going through the questions. I know Chloe has got quite a lot of good ones, but we've been answering quite a lot of hers today. So I'm saying if we can pick one from one user that didn't get their questions in yet. No, I think everyone got their answers. So Mike, do you have any particular preference, or shall we just go for the next one in the queue?
Let's just grab the next one in the queue.
All right, so I think that's the one from Chloe. Do you think conversions would help convince developers to port apps if the apps have never been brought to the desktop? WhatsApp isn't available for Windows or Mac desktop, only the phone and web. If your phone is nearby, do you think conversions would make an app like WhatsApp care more or not? I think it's different answers perhaps for different applications. I mean, in the particular case of WhatsApp, there's two things here. WhatsApp or rather now Facebook, don't have a desktop story. They want to be mobile. Then the other question is, with these companies, they like to see volume before committing to a new platform. They've got a tight control on who uses their APIs. So external parties cannot actually write applications for them. But I think in general, I think the conversion story will make Ubuntu more attractive for developers. Essentially, as I said before, making them able to develop one app just once, and then that works on desktop, tablet, and phone mode. So that'd be my answer to that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, volume is the most important thing for somebody to port an app. And once we make it work on all of the Ubuntu desktops, then our volume automatically gets an additional 45 million users. So that'll definitely help us sell the platform to these other companies. I think WhatsApp is not a good example for this because they've had a strategy of only doing phones. That's why they don't even do iPad or Android tablet versions of their app. Their strategy is centered around being something that's just for phones, that all of their user accounts are tied to a phone. And I think they're probably going to stick with that. So with the exception of WhatsApp, I think it will be a good selling point for everybody. All right, and with that, I think we should wrap it up. Bridgewing did want to know our Twitter handles. So mine is the same as my IRC. It's mhall119.
And mine is Planella, essentially my first initial of my name and my surname. So thank you everyone for your questions. Thanks for following us on the channel. And next week we'll have another Q&A as usual, probably with 2 other folks from the community team. If you'd like to see someone in particular as a guest on the community team Q&A, just let us know, and then we'll try to get in touch and bring them in. All right.
And if we didn't answer your questions here, you can always ask them in #Ubuntu Touch, #Ubuntu-app-devel, app-devel, or just generally #Ubuntu if it's a generic question, or #Ubuntu-community-team to find David, myself, and the rest of the community team, and other people who are heavily involved in the Ubuntu community.
All right then.
Now I think we can wrap it up. Bye, everyone.
All right. Thanks.